Hi there, my name is Lacey Driscoll and I am just answering a few questions for the ECS Final assignment. First question is, which aspects of the course did you find the most challenging to your sense of identity? This one, I would have to say the race chapter was the most difficult to swallow, as I feel like I was kind of I had the upper hand in that situation, and that's not always easy to stomach. Um, kind of learning more about race and white privilege, and to see how easier my life has been because of my skin color has been a little shocking. I'm not gonna lie. Um, and I cannot but feel bad about it. Feel a bit of guilt, and the fact that I'm 30 years old now, and just starting to learn this and starting to, have these conversations with friends and stop racist conversation and that type of stuff. I'm sad that it's taken me this long to learn. Why is it difficult or unsettling to think about these things? I think I kind of just answered that. But yeah, knowing that my life has been a lot easier than some of my best friends just because I'm Caucasian, it's totally unfair, and it's honestly sad. It's sad. What might be at stake for you that would be hard to give up? I think if, it went down to the same playing field as far as, us going to the level that they are treated, we'd be giving up a lot of things. We'd be giving up our, education, how we're treated on a daily basis, how we even rent apartments. Um, so I hope equality moves in the sense of bringing up everyone to this standard instead of bringing everyone down. I want everyone to be treated equally, and it shouldn't matter what skin color you are when you're going to rent an apartment, or if you're applying to school, or what you're up to, getting jobs. As you think about your own growing understanding of how important identities are to dominance and the production of inequalities, how will you continue to engage in learning and unlearning your own way of being in the world? That's a good question. I feel like I mentioned already, the fact that I'm 30 years old and I'm just learning some of these, pretty simplistic ideas. I feel inspired by it. I feel like I am in a good place. I feel like a good place to make change. I have a pretty a left-wing family, but there's definitely a lot of racism. Not in the sense that oh, you're not white, don't come into my house racism, but it's that whole okay racism where you can, oh, I can say this or I can say that because your stepmother is Aboriginal, or oh, you have that black friend so I can make a black joke. That's how my family's racist, or it's always, I was just kidding, but lately I've been kind of standing up for those people that are being made fun of in the family conversations around my house or in my friend group, or even, sexist conversations. I feel like that happens around me every day. And what I can do to change that is just kind of calling it out and not letting those types of conversations kind of slide by me anymore. I feel like if everybody kind of, said what they believed or what they were thinking, we could possibly change, the conversation in general. I feel like articles such as The Discourse of Denial, that was such a great article for all of us to read in this class, as I feel that it was just interesting and sad to see how it's just in the system. We're just are the way we are because it's just taught through us, through and through, and it's true that we need to go really back to the basics and back to the roots to, identify these problems and really nail them out. The quote here, there is a continued refusal to admit to the destructive impact of racism, believing instead that groups should strive to better themselves. And I feel like this is just the conversation that's always happening. I worked hard for what I have, they need to work hard too. Not realizing that they are working hard too, and we are just that much further ahead because of our skin color. It's just blasphemy. And that was great. I love that article, especially this quote here too. The failure to name color is clearly indicative of the negative associations that continue to be attached to notions of color and race. And that is so true as well. Like I talked about in my critical autobiography, that I have a friend who is Sri Lankan, really good friend of ours, and she is Sri Lankan. She clearly looks different. She's dark, beautiful skin, dark hair, dark eyes, and she, she has a different life. She faces different challenges. She does have a difficult time getting apartment buildings. People say things to her. She was in a yoga class once, and someone said they didn't want to sit next to her because she'll probably stink when she starts sweating. Like, just like rude things like that are totally race related. But yet when she is with her Sri Lankan family, they call her whitewashed. And it's just sad. There's just like this battle between like, what I can and cannot be for her. And we kind of act like there is no skin color difference. And it just, you're one of us. But I think it is important, I know it is important now to identify that, like, you are different. You do face different challenges, and we're not the same. Like, we are, but we're not, and to acknowledge that. Another thing I want to point out in this class that was interesting to me is the ableism chapter. That one was interesting, especially the, exceptionality in that talk video. How they're treated with pity and disgust. And I noticed this a lot because my cousin, she was in had a few drinks, dove into a pool situation a few years ago, and she's now quadriplegic. So it's been tough for the family and really hard for her, being so limited with her ability and freedom. But, and treated with pity all the time, like, oh, poor girl, and it is sad, but she's just doesn't want to be treated like that. She just wants to be able to go into a restaurant and sit with everybody else and not be treated like, everyone has to be running to her needs all the time, And I feel bad for her because I know that is a struggle for her. At the same time, I think it's really interesting to see her struggle so differently than others, as she is this beautifully stunning girl who is a yoga teacher and had, a degree and all this stuff, and her incident was just so sad and accidental. But I cannot but wonder, if it was a different scenario, if she was a different race, if it was a different scenario as far as how she was paralyzed, if it would have worked out the same for her. Because now she's doing like inspirational conversations, and she gets invited everywhere, and she gets treated like gold and meets all sorts of celebrities. But I mean, I hate to say it, but would it be different for her if she was, an Aboriginal girl who, did the same thing? Would she have the accessibility to all these functions and, privileges? So you kind of start to see how white privilege works its way in, even through disabled folks, and the intersectionalities of all these things coming together is really interesting and should absolutely be observed and critiqued in its own way as well. So I feel bad for saying that because I love my cousin, and I'm so happy that she's had a fortunate situation considering her problems. But yeah. Anyways, that's my feedback, and thank you for a great semester. I learned a lot in this course. Great articles. I learned a lot. So have a great summer, and we'll see you soon.